How to attach a garden hose to weed killer. Many weed killers come with special nozzle attachments. The attachments allow the weed killer to hook to a garden hose for disbursement of the weed killer chemicals. Only certain brands and formulas of weed killer are made for garden hose spraying. Attaching a hose-sprayed weed killer to a garden hose is very easy thanks to the included nozzle and directions on the weed killer container. Things you will need: weed killer container, garden hose with connector end, water source, rubber gloves, safety goggles. Ensure that the hose's water supply is turned off. Wear rubber gloves and safety goggles while attaching the garden hose to the weed killer and during spraying. This prevents you from getting weed killer on your hands or in your eyes. Read the directions on the bottle of weed killer for attaching the bottle to a garden hose. Different weed killer brands have different nozzles and means of attachment. Unscrew the cap that covers where the garden hose is to attach to the weed killer container. Hold the container level to prevent spilling the weed killer. Screw the connecting end of the garden hose into or around the nozzle cap of the weed killer container. Tighten completely. Carefully sit the weed killer container down while you turn the water hose on at the source. Squeeze the trigger on the weed killer container to test the connection. Make sure there are no leaks where the hose and the weed killer container connect. If there is leaking, you may need to use the different size hose and connector piece. Spray weeds and pest plants according to the directions included on the weed killer container. When finished spraying, turn the water off. Unscrew the hose from the weed killer container and dispose of the weed killer container properly. Continue to wear the gloves and safety goggles until the weed killer is unhooked from the garden hose and disposed. Turn the water back on and allow it to run for a few minutes to remove any weed killer that may have flowed backwards into the hose. Tips: warnings. Follow all directions on the weed killer container to ensure proper use and to prevent damage to your health and to desirable plants. Do not reuse the weed killer container, unless recommended on the container label.